Thank you so much. When I was first approached to perform at TEDxRexburg, I had every intention of sitting down and playing my piece, taking a bow and being finished and not saying anything. As an instrumental musician, I prefer to let my hands do the talking. But when I heard the theme of TEDxRexburg, which is Rethink the Ordinary, I decided that I wanted to talk to you all about the most ordinary thing in my life, which is practice. I did a little bit of estimating, and in my lifetime, I've spent 6,440 hours, approximately, on the bench practicing. Now, we've all been told at some point in our life, practice makes perfect. Well, I am here tonight to burst the bubble. That's not true. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And tonight I want to share with you my 3-step process to perfect practice. Now, as a quick disclaimer, I know that perfect is kind of an intimidating word. I like to think of the Russian figure skater Yevgeny Plushenko, who, after he withdrew from the Winter Olympics, said in an interview in broken English, "I'm not robot." I'm not suggesting that we should try to become perfect robots, just that we should strive for the highest level of excellence that we each can possibly achieve. That just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nicely as perfect practice makes perfect. So, the first step in this process is consistency. I had a piano lesson during my freshman year that was really discouraging for me. I felt like I was making a lot of mistakes, and I was just not really getting to where I needed to be, and I sat down with my teacher and I said, "I'm so discouraged, I feel like I'm doing so badly." And he said, "You just need to increase your sitting power." I was like, "Sitting power?" He basically said, sitting power is you're on the right track, you're doing the right things, but you're not doing them enough. When we develop sitting power, we develop the patience and the perseverance to sit down and work at something. Now, as another aside, I recognize that most of this audience is not going to go home tomorrow and practice a musical instrument. I know I'm in the minority. However, this applies to anything that we do in our lives that's commonplace or ordinary. And when we rethink the way we do ordinary things, like me practicing, our results become extraordinary. So, sitting power. I did a little bit more calculation. In the past year, I've spent 828 hours at the piano practicing. The bare minimum practice requirement for a music performance major at BYU-Idaho is 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. Now, admittedly, I am a millennial, and we like our information short and to the point. We are notorious for our lack of investment and our penchant for getting bored easily and not investing in things. However, excellence was never achieved within the length of a tweet. And this is why I think sitting power is so important. When we are able to do things that we don't feel like doing, sit down and put in the work and put in the time, that's when we're able to get more work done. So the next thing is evaluation. Sitting power by itself is not enough. I could sit at the piano for 8 hours a day, and if I was practicing mistakes, it would actually be doing more harm than it does good. My teacher, I refer to him affectionately as a crazed perfectionist. At his most picky, I once spent an entire lesson on the same 3 chords. I would play them for you, but I don't want to step down and step back up. It's a little precarious up here. I will never forget those 3 chords. It was a hard lesson. But this is where perfection and striving for perfection in my practice really comes into play, is in this evaluation step. I could sit down every day, and if I played from end to end my piece, inevitably made a few mistakes, then patted myself on the back for getting 80% of it right, and then did it over and over and over again until I met my allotted 3 hours a day that's required for me to get course credit, that would never really benefit me at all. Instead, you have to split your activities up. So there is stuff that I know is good, stuff that I can do, and I put that in the I don't need to practice this as much box. Then there is also stuff that's not so good. And in this step of evaluation, I ask myself 2 questions. The first is, was that perfect? Now there's that word again. But essentially, was that right? Was it correct? Did I play what the composer intended? This can apply to any of us. Did I get the answer right on this test? Did I do this task that I was given correctly? If the answer is yes, the next question you ask yourself was that easy? Did I get lucky Was I white knuckling it around the corners? Or did I actually do it well and it was natural for me and it was easy? Now, if the answer to both those questions is yes, you can take that thing that you're doing and put it in the I don't need to work on this so hard box. However, if the answer is no, that leads us, which it often is, that leads us to the last step of the process, which is repetition. Now, when I was young, my teacher would give me what she called skill spots. She would go to the music, and she would pick a measure or a small section that she knew was tricky or challenging, and she would put a little smiley face star sticker on it, and then send me home to do repetitions. Her required number, my age. So 5 repetitions was not a problem. 12 repetitions I can handle. 16 repetitions, whatever, it's not that many. I've gotten to the point in my life where 21 repetitions doesn't cut it anymore. And so I developed a system that makes me kind of accountable for my repetitions. And this is just a scan that I took of one of my pieces. And you can see these numbers on the sides. I've basically divided every single piece of music that I play into 50 or 60 skill spots. It's just that I use the whole piece now instead of just a little small part of it like my teacher used to. Then, once I've done this, I know this is a little bit small, but I make a spreadsheet, and across the top you have the date, and across the bottom the sections. And I go through, and the number of repetitions that I do, I keep track of it. So, if I was playing something 50 times a day incorrectly, I'd be enforcing a bad habit. However, when I play something multiple times a week, 45 or 50 times a day, and I'm playing it right, I'm building, in my personal case, a tactile foundation. I'm training my muscle memory how it feels to do something right. So when I get in a situation where I'm nervous, or when I'm playing faster, or if I have a memory slip, I can fall back on this tactile foundation that I've built, and I know how to do something right. Now let's apply this to an athlete. Someone who skis does not think about every little anatomical shift that they have to make in order to execute a turn. They just do it because it's natural. So essentially, whatever it is that you're doing every day, rethink it. Get in touch with your inner crazed perfectionist, like my teacher. Increase your sitting power and work a little bit harder, and train your instincts to do something excellent. Just remember that in everything that you do, practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Thank you.